Y'all, I did not realize my microphone was off this whole time. Crazy. But thank you. I think I know who Divine X is, but I won't say your name out loud. But thank you for letting me know that there was no sound. So, y'all, sound starts at 25 minutes. Yeah, thank you so much. Um, Sound starts at 25 minutes. Man, we were doing so well. I don't even know where to start. So I guess we shall start over. Good thing we wasn't that far, y'all, into our lesson, and good thing I started late. So basically, y'all, what we was talking about was the placements of everything. And so I'm not going to tell y'all the astrological perspectives of everything where we went over the degrees and everything else. Um, just know that today, while we're going live in the apothecary early, is because the full moon is going direct tomorrow at 8:53 a.m. And as you can see, it's going to be a rough one. Oh, thank you. Saying from the beginning, I'm gonna give me some water too. And now I'm gonna actually mute myself because I be drinking so loud. So 1 second, y'all. Child, I really can't believe that was not going for the whole time. Okay, anyways. So the full moon will be taking place tomorrow. Tomorrow is February the 12th, 2025 at 8:53 a.m. But like I said, the moon is going to experience a lot of changes tomorrow, so you won't really be able to work with all of Leo energy. So if your goal is to work with Leo energy, it's best to work with it tonight or wake up early in the morning tomorrow and make sure you do everything that you need to do your prayers, do your embodiment, do your invocation. If you're doing petitioning, you would have to do that early in the morning. But if you're going to make moon water, and I do suggest that you do make moon water, specifically transformation water, it's a really good moon to make it, but you have to get everything going tonight before you go to sleep, and then make sure you wake up in the morning and go get it before the sun touches your moon water, because then it ain't moon water no more. It's moon and sun water, and it do something different. And that's because soon after the moon reaches its peak at 8:53 a.m., it's actually going to go void of course. So that means the moon will actually leave the Leo constellation and be traveling and be on its way to the Virgo constellation and won't get there until 8:07 p.m. tomorrow. So if you wait till tomorrow night because you think that that's the peak energy of the full moon, right? You'll actually be working with Virgo energy. And that's a whole nother thing. And then you have to learn how to work with your energy backwards. And I'm pretty sure you don't want to do that. And the reason being is that this is just a very fixed full moon. The fixed energy of Leo, the fixed energy of Aquarius, and the fixed energy of Taurus are activated with this full moon. The only energy that really isn't activated that's a fixed sign is Scorpio. And Scorpio's getting a little bit of a break right now, but after years of being beat down. So that's the only energy that will kind of be chilling. But overall, that means that this full moon will be hard. That means accomplishing your goals will be hard. If you are working toward things, getting through the day tomorrow will be hard. But it also means because the moon will be going into Virgo at 8:07 on a full moon, the likelihood that you're going to get up and do a self-care routine, meditate, pray, do invocations. If you're a conjurer or a root worker from the hoodoo tradition, you're going to be doing that. If you're initiated into some of the African traditional religions, you won't do anything. If you have a prayer closet, because you're Southern Baptist, or any of the traditions that Black and Indigenous people represent, and if you work with the moon cycle, you won't be doing it the way that you'll be doing it. You'll be calling down and trying to embody Virgo energy when you're thinking you're working with Leo energy, and then your energy is going to be tired, very tired for the rest of the month. And I would hate for you to go into a Pisces new moon next month accidentally working with Virgo energy because of when the full moon took place. So just wanted to overemphasize that. And so how do you know when or how this full moon will affect you. Well, again, if you have fixed signs in your chart, and again, fixed signs are Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus. Those are fixed signs. But specifically, if you work really deep in your natal chart and you know and understand your degrees and your decan signs, if you have any fixed signs between 20 and 28 degrees, this full moon will be very impactful for you, or you will definitely feel this full moon. And also, there's a bunch of things that are in opposition with this full moon right now. So, a full moon or any portion of the moon cycle always involves the sun and the moon. There's just no other way around it. So, when you think you're working with the moon's energy, you're always working with the moon and the sun's energy, not one, but both. Okay. And so the sun and the moon, what makes a full moon is all of the energy and all of the power of the sun is shining on the moon. That's what makes a full moon. But that means that the sun and the moon have to be on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel. And that's why the moon is in Leo and the sun is in Aquarius. But where the sun is in Aquarius, you also have Pluto, which is in early degrees of Aquarius. And then you have Mercury, which is in late degrees of Aquarius, and will be going into Pisces on Valentine's Day morning. So this energy is just a lot to work with, and it could be kind of heavy. And that energy will actually begin to take place before the full moon. So you'll be starting your day. If you start your day around 6, 7, by the time you're walking out the door, you might already be in traffic, dropping off the kids, doing whatever you do in your morning routine. By 7:26 a.m., there's already going to be energy going on. And that's where we're going to have that first fixed energy come through, a fixed earth, because Uranus, the planet of unexpected changes and making sure that we stay in flow with the natural order of the universe, will be squaring. So square is like a little tense conversation. That's what a square is, between that and the moon and the sun, like low key, because again, the moon and the sun make, well, it's more so the moon, but the moon and the sun makes a full moon. So the energy will be felt extremely strong, because you'll have whatever conversation the moon is happening, the sun will be shining a light on it, right? And so when Uranus is in Taurus, it talks about self-worth, it talks about self-value, it talks about finances, it talks about your resources, because it's Taurus energy, and Taurus in the second house energy. But specifically this square and what it's bringing up with this full moon in Leo sort of energy, when it kind of mixes together, it will actually call out like self-worth and self-resources around creativity, around how you pour into yourself, around how you find pleasure, Leo energy, fifth house energy, but also leadership and leadership skills. And remember, leadership is both professional and domestic, right? So how is your leadership skills with yourself first? And how you check in with your leadership skills is probably about your boundaries around time, resource management, because again, Leo energy is fixed fire energy. So it actually is detail oriented. It does like productivity because it is masculine yin energy. So that means it's action oriented. In order to be action oriented and to rule over the fifth house and different things like that, but it's fixed energy means that it pays attention to details, right? And how it pays attention to details and recognizing that it has to have strong boundaries, right, in order to execute and be the leader or the ruler that it's supposed to be. And so I bring all of that up because that's it. That's the energy for how you'll start your morning. Whether you just wake up around that time, you're in traffic, you're commuting, you're dropping the kids off, you just get into the office around 7:30, you're going to have some experience more than likely, with that square conversation where you just, some of the energy might come up. And who knows, it'll be specific for you in your chart, your natal chart and your progress chart, where they come up, but that energy will be coming up, right? And then, like I said, at 8:53, we will have that natural opposition that makes the sun and the moon, between the sun and the moon, that makes a full moon, making our full moon in Leo. And we'll talk more about that at the end of the lesson. And then at 2:12 p.m., two things are going to happen. Okay. So at 2:12 p.m., Mercury is Mercury and the moon are going to oppose each other. So oppose means they come into blows. That means that energy is very, very tense, right? Because they're adamantly opposed to each other. So they'll be perfectly degreed 180 degrees from one another. Mercury, which is in Aquarius, and the moon, which will be in Leo. And they'll have a really tense conversation. And then it's going to go void, of course. The moon will actually leave Leo and be traveling from 2:12 p.m. until 8:07 p.m. to another constellation, which will be Virgo. And then we'll be working with very different energy. Okay. So that is quite literally all the energy that is happening tomorrow. And in addition to that, you're going to have a trine, which is a positive conversation happening between, what is it, Chiron and Venus. And those two things are in Aries. So just wanted to say that. Okay. But anyway, we were talking about the moon and the sun. And we here within the apothecary just, y'all cannot believe that I have to start over. The moon is basically a natural satellite, right? And that's a celestial body or a planet or a star. It's basically a celestial body that is not a planet or a star or an asteroid. And ours is called a satellite for our celestial body that's caught in our gravitational pull that we call the moon, right? And as we talked about, the moon just helps stabilize our experience here on Earth because it stabilizes the wobble and the axis and the tilt that Earth naturally is on as it's spinning around and as it's traveling around the sun. Okay. And it also regulates, because it is our closest celestial body, to water. And since we are 70 to 80% water, yeah, pretty much 70-80% water, when the moon is like at its fullest, this is why it's associated with water and the emotions, because we literally feel that energy. And again, the moon also rules over our body and somatics and other portions of our experience. So yeah, wanted to say that. And then from an astrological perspective, the moon really just represents your emotions because it is the closest. In astrology, it represents femininity. The water is represented by the fourth house, is represented by Cancer. It also represented by like our internal world or our unconscious, right? Again, because it is the closest celestial body to Earth. It spends about 2.5 days in each constellation or zodiac sign, which is why there's often a saying, so like our moon, so our emotions are fluid, right? Because the moon spends such a short amount of time in each constellation or zodiac sign, that makes our emotions fluid, or it governs the most fluid part of our existence, which is our emotions, right? And again, the moon's energy represents femininity, it represents motherhood, it represents native family environments, it represents motherhood, family nurturing, etc. Also, astronomically, we're going to talk about what a full moon is. So again, we kind of already talked about it. It's just when it's 180 degrees from each other. That's what really makes a full moon. And so it's when the Earth that is located between the sun and the moon, the part that is facing us, the sun, is fully illuminating it, right? And like we said, all this is just that the sun and the moon are in sister signs, which are Aquarius and Leo, right? And it really highlights the Aquarius Leo axis. It's the third phase of the moon cycle after the new moon, the first quarter moon, but it's also the last quarter moon. But it's also before the last quarter moon. So what was I saying and how do I make it better? So it's the second phase of the moon cycle. The full moon is, but it's the strongest phase of the moon cycle. It is after the new moon and the first quarter moon, but it is before the last quarter or second quarter moon. Okay, if you work with the full moon cycle, you'll know what I'm talking about. And historically, we use the full moon to really talk about releasing transformation work, abundance, and reflection. We get a lot of this knowledge and information from when we study how our ancient African and indigenous ancestors worked with the moon's energy. And a lot of times they use it for releasing, for being fully present, for accepting what things really are, to ask for clarity, to work with their ori, to work with spirit teams, spirit guides, but to also work with their ancestors. So it was a time to just be on a journey and accept where you are in a journey. Okay. All right. And then what you need to understand about the full moon energy is the full moon energy represents womb, or the birth energy, like the womb giving birth. It also represents harvest, a combination of events, realizations, a time to look and see what your results were, or to overall take a break and look at how you've been working toward your goals, or what are the results of working toward your goals that you established during the Aquarius new moon that we had 2 days ago. Not 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, and again, it's the best time for like really celebrating achievements. If you have something that you need to celebrate, now is a really good time to do that, or pour that energy into however you utilize your energy or your magic or your divine feminine, you know. So wanted to really throw that out there, but it's also a time to practice gratitude. But if things aren't going well, it's a time to rest, release those emotions, sit with source, God, creator, making sure that, you are becoming grounded and letting source, creator, and spirit, especially with the sun being in Aquarius and with this being Leo moon, having that being on that axis, if you work with energy, letting spirit pour into you that water bearing energy that we talked about 2 weeks ago during that new moon. So just wanted to say, and if you don't know how to work with full moons, like I gave you some information during the Aquarius new moon for the affirmations that you can say until you begin to build your own. Um, some of the affirmations you can say is, I celebrate my progress and honor my journey. Whatever progress and whatever journey you're on, you can apply that to you. Okay. Crystal you could work with if you were just looking for one. I would recommend rainbow moonstone. So moonstone is a stone that's governed by the moon anyways. I would always recommend, and I think I have on moonstone today. That's lavender, right? Where is my moonstone? That's selenite. I guess I don't got on moon. Oh, here it is. This is moonstone. I just had it on the opposite hand today. So like you can work with moonstone, but particularly rainbow moonstone is particularly really, really good for just enhancing your intuition, enhancing your knowing, that clairsentience, claircognizance, and like kind of energy, and also connecting to the divine feminine, because it is a full moon, and a full moon is represented by divine feminine energy because this is the illumination of divine feminine energy. So just wanted to throw that out there. But like I said, some of the rituals that you can do, some of the things that you can hyper focus on is that intent behind. If you're going to set intent, is to celebrate achievements, doing candle work, lighting candle work, doing candle work. But most importantly, you can do candle work if you do that at your altar, if you have an altar to yourself or to your ori. And I recommend that, like if you have any sort of altar where you're calling in spirit, you need one to yourself or to your ori or to your spirit first. And so with that being said, full moons, if you are going to do rituals and it is about calling something in, it's a really good time to do candle work, like at the altar to yourself, if you have the space to be able to do it. And then some of the journal prompts, if you don't really know how to work with full moons, or you don't have your rituals built out that you can talk about, is what have I accomplished this cycle? That is a question you can ask yourself. If you like to journal, if you like to ask yourself questions, if you like to meditate to a question, if you like to think about certain things before you go to sleep. Another one that you can think about is what can I be grateful for? Right? And how can I carry the feelings of fulfillment into my next chapter? So, like I said, if some of the rituals, some of the things that you're hyper focused or setting intent, and I use intent lightly because it is a full moon, not a new moon, around is achievement. So, making sure you capture and embody this emotion, and making sure that when you're, gosh, I think my computer is haywiring, but anyways, and making sure that when you're embodying the emotion, making sure you're taking it into the next chapter, when those chapters become hard, or when the work becomes hard, or when the results are not coming as fast. Okay. Alrighty. And so, like I just said, full moons represent the birth portion of the moon cycle. And again, like I just said, our African and our indigenous ancestors really hyper focus on this time to focus on completion, focus on fertility, focus on abundance work, which is being grateful for what you already have, whether you know it or not. That is abundance work, right? You do just do abundance work on new moons when you're trying to call in new opportunities or new things. During full moons, you be grateful for what you have, right? It's also for a time for transformation. This is a time of alchemy. Since all of the sun's energy is focusing on the moon's energy, it's a time for alchemy. And you can use that alchemy or the things that not only are you trying to release, but you're trying to release and call like future things down in a really intentional way, or flip that energy back where it works for you. You can do stuff like that, but only if you understand like the energy of the cycle that you're working with really, really well. Okay. And so what you need to remember about full moons is that you always need to walk into it being fully present and being open and receptive. New moons are the time to come at the universe, to come at source, a creator, to come at your ancestors, to come at your Ori and tell them what you want. This is the time that they come to you and say what they need and what they want from you. So it's a time to be open. Now it is a time to be cautious. We do protection work around here, because if you're opening yourself up and you are a portal, and if you're working with your own energy, you're opening yourself up and you're being a portal, you don't open yourself up to everything. And this is why you work with ritual, or this is why you work with natural order or natural law or astrology, right? So you can figure out how to get out of it the things that you want, need, or desire. So wanted to say that. And like I said, you do that by making sure that you're fully present and you're ready to accept the reality of the situation for what it is, whatever comes to you, and just being open and just allowing yourself to feel whatever emotions that you might feel, particularly around your intentions, but also around whatever source, spirit, creator, or ancestors, or your spirit team work with you. So also wanted to say that. And again, at an energetic level, if you do energy work, it's just a time where you understand that the sun and the moon's energy are coinciding, but that coincision really means that they work together. And so, like, again, this is when the natural laws of the universe are just coming together, and this is our everyday 30-day divine order reset. And so it's just a time to be open, and it's a time to allow quiet introspection, and oftentimes full moons are a time to rest. But especially because Leo energy is hot, dry energy. I mean, just think about when Leo season takes place. It'd be hot and it'd be dry, right? Like, make sure you stay hydrated, because Leo energy naturally is dehydrated. Okay. So when the moon is in Leo, the moon's energy is fixed, positive, yin, masculine, or active or action-based energy. Again, it's ruled by the sun, and it's the time lord, or it governs the fifth house. The fifth house is the house of pleasure, the house of creativity, and the house of romance. I know we think that the seventh house is the house of romance. No, that's the house of marriage, business, partnerships, and everything beautiful. The fifth house is romance, but it's children, creativity, pleasure, and romance, right? It is symbolized by the moon, or not by the moon, but the Leo's energy is represented by the lion, which is commanding, fiery, daring, royal, king, queen energy, right? The characteristics of it are fixed, fiery, masculine energy, very strong, very communal, yet very individualistic. We'll talk about how it embodies those things. Some of the noteworthy qualities. So noteworthy qualities are things that Leo energy overall embodies really well. Just kindness, loyalty, tolerance, generosity, being inspirational, being philanthropic when it's operating in its highest energy, being very, very fearless, very, very chivalrous, very, very optimistic, but very intuitive, very industrious. Leo energy in its highest energy, because it also comes with rulership, or being royal or loyal, or royal and loyal, I guess. It really is industrious. It likes to solve problems, and again, leadership, right? And so that is some of the things that it can embody in like its highest forms. In its lower or first three chakra or three energy center forms, Leo energy, I'm gonna take that off because it's annoying me. Sorry, I just took I know why it's malfunctioning now. My computer is malfunctioning because I'm about to have to, what is that called? Plug it up, because I unplugged my what is that called? Little charger. Here we go. I don't like to keep things plugged up and to use electricity unless I really have to. But there, my color stabilized. I was like, why am I glitching that bad? I was like, I know all this energy is coming through, but it shouldn't look this crazy. But Leo energy in the lower three chakras really represents like arrogance, domination, gulliness. So I know we talk about, but gulliness is like being cutthroat, being real cutthroat, being very, very fussy, angry, very sensitive, impatient, and bluntness. The birthstone typically for Leo energy. And right now we're just going through what Leo energy represents because we're talking about the moon in Leo energy. So we're working our way up just to figure out what Leo's energy is. So since we're clairsentient people, since we can feel things, we're learning how to embody Leo energy or being reminded of it if we're already very familiar with it. But the birthstone is a ruby typically. Other lucky stones that you can work with if you already have in your collection, I recommend that. We don't have to be consumers to be able to do this work. But if you already have a topaz or carnelians or even diamonds, you can really work with Leo energy. Lucky metal like gold. That's why I always keep gold on me. My Leo's in the 10th house. So I always wear gold because it works and it attracts things for me, right? Because of my energy. I also wear carnelian about daily, y'all. And I always work with carnelian on my altar. Yeah, I always work with carnelian on my altar. The lucky days for Leo is, of course, Sunday, the day that is ruled by its celestial body ruler, which is the sun. Um, if you do numerology or if you do other divine math or the other forms, or if you're just attracted to numbers and patterns that way, Leo numbers are 1, 4, 10, 13, 19, 22, and 28. And shout out to 22 because that is also like a master number. I think it is actually the highest master number in numerology. So not a unconnected that or a coincidence that Leo energy is also the embodiment of that when it comes to numbers. The birth colors, so this is colors that you can embody if you're trying to work with Leo energy, or you can dress your altars in to represent Leo energy. But also if you give birth to children during Leo season to really call down that energy, you can dress them in, or you can use the colors or wear yourself of gold, yellow, orange, or red. When we talk about the embodiment of Leo energy, why is Leo energy here? Its energy is here to elevate. Again, the highest gene key operation that Leo can do is to elevate, but through authority, through power, the ability to rule, the ability to be regal, the ability to be a servant leader by guiding the way, right? And also being protective if need be. That's the true embodiment of Leo energy. And that is to elevate because it is communal, because it is fixed fire energy. So it is hyper fixated on the extroverted, on community, on things outside of itself. That's what Leo energy focuses on. Right? So it is meant to shine and to rule and to guide and operate its servant leadership through guidance and guiding people. Okay. And it's also, like I just said, to guide your particular community. The lifetime wish of Leo is, which is different than your deepest need and desire. So deep, and if you think about the nature or the root of a need or desire, something that you must do. A wish or desire is something a little bit lower than that. It's something you would like to accomplish, or it could be as important to you, but it's not as detrimental. And that's to rule the world, outside of needing to guide people. Also, Leo wants to be recognized. And I know that really well because, like I said, my Leo's in the 10th house. So recognition of the servant leadership that you're doing, that you're constantly in service to your community, that you always want to solve problems, that you always want to be there for people, you always want to make people better. And you want to be recognized for that. And it's a lot like Capricorn energy in so many ways, which is why sometimes Capricorn and Leo energy can get along really, really well, because it's all about that recognition, right? And like I said, my Leo's in the 10th house. 10th house rules over Capricorn, so I get that energy really, really well. The mantra for Leo is I will. That willpower, the embodiment of solar plexus energy, but Leo also represents the heart energy, yeah, I think it represents the third eye energy and the crown chakra energy, right? But the I will is the real manifestation of willpower energy. So it really does willpower. It really is the execution of when you refine your willpower, right? And I rise and I shine, because as I'm refining my willpower, as I'm figuring out who I am and what I need and how to get that for myself, I am also becoming better. And because of that, I get recognition and I take people along with me. I show them the way with me. I'm sorry, I was like, what is this? It's the microphone. I look behind me like, is that what is behind me that I'm looking at? And I realize it's the microphone, y'all. Okay. And so what it needs for balance, again, everything has to exist in balance, because Leo's energy has to be in a balance with the Aquarius collective humanitarian energy. Is it really needs humility. A lot of times, Leo, because it is governed by the sun, and the sun governs individuality, self-awareness, sometimes hyper self-awareness, which is the overactivation of the ego. What it needs is humility. And that's why, with it being fixed fire energy, it hyper focuses on the community, right? And like with any rulership energy, like if the people that you serve don't like what you're doing in a healthy rulership, in a healthy exaltation of the people agreeing to be led by one person or a group of people, right? Then they'll reflect that back to you by how they feel, what they say to you, right? And so that humility, and then being able to go off and self-reflect and become a better person by that humility, making sure that the deep desire to always keep company and the deep desire to be extroverted, is also meaning that you are always willing to self-reflect, especially if the people that you care about and the people that you guide prompt you toward that self-reflection. Okay. And this is because Leo, again, is actually stabilizing energy because of that fixed fire energy. So it's really set up to have a strong and solid foundation, which is actually what makes Leo energy great rulers, or why over astrology they rule over rulership, right? And it's because Leo energy likes to, because of his fixed energy, think about things all the way through before they actually start, because they know once they start, they won't be able to stop. So it likes to think about everything, but that means it takes a lot of time, which is why Leo energy can oftentimes, like Aquarius energy, seem secretive, but it's not really like secretive. It's that you are fixed fire energy. Once you get going in a direction, you cannot stop. And so therefore, you want to think through a plan before you ever let somebody else know what that plan is. That's real big fixed energy, but it's also a very big masculine energy, yin energy, positive energy, or action oriented energy. So when all of those things come together, it can kind of combine as that. And some people might feel like that means Leo energy is very self centered or very egotistic. And maybe even in some forms it can be, because it actually does rule over those things to a certain extent. Um, Leo energy is not really in representation of that. It's really in representation. It really is the embodiment of fire energy, masculine energy, yang energy. If you just really study the mystics and you start to understand, and then you actually understand energy, you start to understand why Leo energy is the way that it is, or why it can get the negative connotations that it is. But at its core, it's because once it starts, it cannot stop its plan. It has to see it all the way through and live with all the consequences no matter what, right? Um, and Leo energy, because it is the second fire energy, so it represents that elemental energy on another level. It really represents unique ideas, or crafting, or the spark to make things unique. Because again, even though Leo loves to be in community and amongst community, it still likes to stand out within community. So it's not like Aquarius, where it wants to be separate and apart from community, doesn't even care about being included in community. Leo energy is willing to follow the social norms, but it still wants to be known for being different. So more so like that guy, that girl, that person sort of energy, rather than like F them energy. I don't really care if you accept me or not. And so my North Node is in Aquarius and my South Node is in Leo. And so I don't really care if people accept me or not. Luckily, because my South Node is in Leo, more times than not, people do. And I'm very thankful and aware of that. But I represent that dichotomy that I just talked about, right? Of um, Leo versus Aquarius energy. And so that's why it brings that unique spark, because it still wants to be an individual, but not too much of one to the degree where it becomes a pariah. And for me, as you can see, I don't care about being a pariah. So it's like those are the different ways that can just do that. And that's because the way the Leo energy is set up is that deep desire, because of all that fixed fire energy, that yin energy, that masculine energy. It's really the desire to trailblaze, to really beat down injustice, really carrying you on that philanthropic energy that both Aquarius and Leo energy represents, because Leo does govern portions of philanthropy just like Aquarius does, because they exist on the same axis or on the same line of existence, right? And so, but it's always, instead of being a pariah, it's always about maintaining dignity and maintaining shine and learning how to do things with decorum and learning how to do things and face the opposition, even when the opposition is like right there in your face. It's because Leo energy overall is smart, trustworthy, honest, but always have plans, always got something going on, doesn't really need a lot of outside initiation or motivation, is motivated by outside and external things, but the emanation of why it does what it does is because it wants to. This is how it chooses to be. And that's very much so because it's warm-hearted, but its fixed energy makes it warm-hearted and really attention to details. So that's why sometimes arguing with the person who might have a Mercury in Leo could be like, it could feel like fried chicken. You could feel like you fried crispy, baby, because you did. Because it'd be all cool until a Leo gets mad. And then you realize, oh, like a Gemini, and I'm a Gemini sun, you've been paying attention to the details all along. You just didn't necessarily assign judgment or say things about it, because it was what it was until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, and since we're here, I'm going to say what I need to say. And so, yeah, that is indicative of its fixed energy. Also, that kind of gives Leo the bad guy reputation of like they just say whatever they want to when they're really mad. And it's like, no, they don't, right? And that's why I said Leo and Mercury energy, like sometimes it comes together, it can make a person like brutally honest, right? And you really, and it can make a person feel very vulnerable and self exposed, and not realizing or being prepared for being self exposed. But Leo energy in any of its placements can overall kind of represent that energy, because that's what it was at its core, because it is independent, but it is positive. So it is balanced masculine energy. It is self confident, self controlled, representing a natural born leader, but also can represent, because it sides with the people at the end of the day. It rules because the people said, we desire your rulership and I accept. It will side with the people if the status quo becomes deleterious to the people. Because again, at the end of the day, at the core of Leo energy is philanthropic, is humanistic, just like Aquarius, because Aquarius and Leo energy exist on the same plane of existence. They just exist in two different extremities, right? So that's what all of this means. So anytime you see Leo energy siding with the institution or the establishment, is oftentimes Leo energy that is not balanced. But when you see Leo energy, or people who represent or embody Leo energy standing up before the people, it's often because they want to be there, but it's also because they're entrusted to be there, because the people know no matter what position you're put in, you're always going to have the best interest of all of us together. And so that's what Leo energy can represent. And so that kind of warmth, light, positive energy, but yet protective and very loyal and royal energy, makes Leos very magnetic. What is, I can never say that word. It's often a funny word. Magnanimous. I don't know. And I ain't gonna say it again because I will get worse. But yeah, and like I said, we talked about the sun's energy before, so we don't have to talk about it again. Because the sun represents your ego or your personality or your individuality. And again, Leo's energy is governed by the sun. So that means the sun actually rules over this full moon. And then, like I said, we also got Aquarius, which is, or Uranus, which is Aquarius's ruler, doing some things and kind of shaking up the fight too and letting us know that it's still here. But what we also need to know about Leo energy is Leo energy represents things I often don't hear people talk about, which is the fifth house. So Leo energy governs the fifth house, and that is the house of pleasure, creativity, and children. And this is actually where a bunch of energy this full moon is coming up in, because like I said, the question is asking you about, like, this particular full moon is about how do you spend time with your creativity, right? Like, how do you spend time taking care of your inner child? How do you spend time playing? How do you spend time having fun? Right? Like, do you spend a lot of time doing that, or do you spend a lot of time in survival mode? And it's okay, whatever the answer to either question is, because I've been on both ends of the spectrum before, right? Where I was like, I could use more structure. Like, I'm playing a lot, I'm doing too much play, or the other end where, like, I'm not playing at all. I'm completely in survival mode. I'm completely in output and productivity mode. And you have to find a balance. And Leo also represents passion. So the fifth house also represents passion, which is why it also represents children. And I know all these things kind of seem like a weird amalgamation together, but the houses are like smaller units of a zodiac, right? Of a zodiac constellation. And it just represents things of life that, because of how different astrological events come together, kind of mean that all of these things kind of have something in common, even if it's at the metaphysical or energetic or esoteric, aka hidden knowledge level, right? And so I'm bringing those up because that is where it's at. Leo also represents romance. And again, Venus is in Mars right now, and Chiron is there, and it's in the fifth house. So, and it's Valentine's Day. So it's actually enhancing this energy because the collective energy is hyper focused on romantic, intimate partnerships right now. And what I would say, since all this fifth house, romance, creativity energy is coming up, is listen, I understand Valentine's Day, do what you got to do if you have a boo, if you're looking for a boo. But this energy, if you're feeling like, oh man, I don't have any plans or I don't know what to do, it's really calling you to use your fifth house energy, use your creativity energy, use your inner child energy, and check in with how you're playing, how you are spending time with your pleasure. And is your pleasure centered around other people or different other things, that fixed extroverted energy? Because again, you can take some of that pleasure back for yourself. Pleasure has to emanate from self first. It's positive, action oriented energy. Action oriented means it comes from outside or inside of you, it manifests out, and then it creates its reality, right? And so a lot of times, Leo energy, especially with this fire, Venus and Chiron being their energy, and Chiron is the wounded healer, it can come up with things like abrupt changes in partnerships or in like intimate partnerships where you were expecting, unfortunately, to have a Valentine's and now you don't. That's very indicative of fire energy overall, like changes, but especially when Venus is there and when Chiron is there. That's because Chiron has been in Aries for a long time, kind of clearing up house, and it's in that second, third decade energy, and it's really not playing any games because Chiron is really asking you in Aries, like, to become activated around your passions. So with this Venus energy being here, it's like moving the way for things. And with Uranus being in Taurus, changing up resources and changing up physical realities, because Taurus does govern the physical reality. And because it's having a trine with that Taurus energy, y'all, the full moon is, it could result in unexpected changes in romantic partners. Like you going from having one to not having one. But how this energy works is it doesn't work the other way. Like if you don't have a partner because Mars is in retrograde in Cancer and Venus is in Aries and so many other things going on, it's not a really good time. And I mean, honestly, we're in a full moon. It's not a good time to necessarily call in a partner. It's time to accept things for what they are. And acceptance doesn't mean you don't go through the stages of emotions of these things happening or transitions happening, right? It just means that it could be taking place, right? And again, this is not for everybody, but these are things that typically happen when this energy is there. So I wanted to bring that up, but often hyper focus, because overall what this energy is asking you about is your own pleasure, right? It asks you to hyper focus on that. And like an energy of embodiment to really hyper focus on what's your own pleasure. Janelle Monáe's album, I can't remember exactly what it is, that has something of pleasure, the House of Pleasure. Listen to that. And I know it's like even kind of summertime and beachy, but again, it is the moon in Leo energy. So you can really use this energy to be in gratitude and be in abundance, but also to kind of utilize that fixed fire energy of Leo always wanted to emote outward, kind of always wanted to manifest and do things outward. Just listen to that album, like put it on when you're driving places. If you like, and it's a real chill album. I love that album. But that album really does represent like embodying your own self pleasure. Like, what do you want to do because you want to do it, and not being afraid to like live that life. And that energy can come up. So, really wanted to say that again. This energy is hyper enhanced because it's a very fire filled full moon too, because you have Chiron, Mars, um, and the moon trining, so having a positive conversation with one another. And like thank the universe that it wasn't no conjunction, because we would have been fighting out in here, like for real, because that conjunction would have been terrible. But it's the fire element of just making sure it's the second constellation and being ruled by fire. But fire energy in this decan is really about, again, that magnetic performer, that dramatic energy sometimes that Leos can be known to have, like that dramatic flair for things. And it's just that magnetic fire energy that want and that need and that ability to be in community with one another, and that ability to really being able to express how you feel somatically, like with your body, using your emotions with your body. And so that fire energy can also be manifest in different ways during this moon too. So yes, and because it is a fire moon, it could be very, very sexual. I always have to say that for fire full moons, when we're talking about full moon. So just wanted to throw that out there, especially when we're talking about Leo energy. Okay. And so Leo's mantra for this full moon should be just watch me. But like, don't tell nobody. Keep that to yourself. Because like the Orishas who rule over this year are Ogun and Yamoje. What's that girl that was in Pakistan doing? I don't even know if I should be talking about this shit online. But when she was like when she was like, my religion is not to tell, my religion is to not to tell y'all, the rules of my religion is not to tell y'all. I can't remember what the fuck she said, but she said some stuff like, basically, my religion is to keep my fucking mouth shut. That's what you do. So you say, just watch me to myself. Whatever you're thinking about, however you want to transform, whatever you're thinking about doing, because this is like such an alchemy filled moon. Don't tell a goddamn person until it's the right time to tell, and you'll know. But lessons in Leo that you can really lean into is patience, the ability to accept others for who they are, those elements within your relationship, because the Venus Aries energy and Chiron being there is very, 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 very much so important in this moon, but also teamwork. Leo in this energy represents teamwork. When you have fire trining kind of energy, it can really help in understand teamwork, which can make the patience better, right? And so lessons to give into during Leo energy, when the moon is in Leo, I would say like, if these natural lessons come up, but leadership, but making sure you don't give into perfectionism, because again, the moon is going void of course at 2:12 tomorrow, and then when the moon comes back into play, when we can officially work with the moon's energy, it'll be 8:07 p.m., but it'll be in the Virgo constellation, right? So you don't want to lean into perfectionism this moon, because it'll kick your ass and make you tired. You'll be tired for a whole moon cycle. And like I've been struggling all day. That's why it's like 2:02 or 12:02. It's a new day. We still talking about yesterday, or today. I don't know. However you want to see it. But all I'm saying is don't lean into that perfectionism energy this full moon because it will kick your ass. But this moon's energy, because Mars is in retrograde and it doesn't go direct next week, and then we got a pre-shadow phase. It's gonna be coming out of its own pre-shadow phase of not being able to rotate forward technically. Well, it's not a technicality, but because it still rotates the same way. But the point that I'm really trying to get at is you really need to not give into perfectionism, but you do need to think about your leadership. But you need to practice patience, like practicing patience. Some of the things to embody is just being self confident in your skills. But again, hyper focusing on that element of fixed fire energy of analyzing your skills and then paying attention. Because again, that fixed fire energy, that fixed extroversion energy in its highest form does mean that it does pay attention to everything, right? But it's really meant to absorb things and create a plan and act when it's ready to, which is why I say, don't tell nobody whatever you think about, whatever that naturally comes to you during this time period. Like the time will come when there's something meant for whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're releasing, whatever you're embodying right now. Um, it can take place. But it's about learning how to have the self discipline of making sure that you get out of your own way by not telling people your blessings before you call it down. So just wanted to say that and get that out the way. And the reason why I say that is because how you work with this energy overall, you're going to be working with the Aquarius Leo axis. And so the Aquarius Leo axis, when the moon particularly is in Leo, because its axis is activated 2 times a year. During this time of the year, when the moon is in Leo, you might feel a stronger desire to let others know how you feel. I mean, today I really didn't even mean to. I was letting people know how I felt left and right. I couldn't call it, and I couldn't care less. And it didn't mean I didn't love you. It just meant you was knowing what I was thinking and what I was feeling. That's very indicative of this moon of Leo, right? But oftentimes it'll come from like a very loving, appreciative, and sentient place. Oftentimes Leo energy gets the over moniker of being very rational, and it's really not rational energy. Like that's very much so on the other end of the axis that they exist on, like in Aquarius. Leo energy, because it's ruled by the sun, is very sentient. It actually feels things a lot better than it can think about things in the natural flow of energy. It don't mean it can't think, it don't mean it can't analyze skills, because it is fixed masculine and yin energy. It does mean that it feels things first. It just is the way that it is. And so this axis will come up. And that's why when you say what you think or how you feel, it could come off where you could be expressing yourself. And also because like it's the middle of winter, so you might not be talking to a lot of people. You might only be talking to people who are very intimate to you in a very like loving, appreciative, but often reflective way. Right. And it's often because the people that you're in community with right now are people that you want to like keep around, right? And so that's very on tune for the energy of this moon. But you could be feeling like more self-conscious again because of that fixed fire energy. And if I had time, I would get into the like Leo areas that like it governs. But oftentimes it's just due to hyper awareness of self, right? Because again, Leo energy is fixed fire energy. So you could be feeling very self-conscious, but very hyper aware, and that's because Leo energy is also very sensitive in its highest form, willing to be vulnerable. And it's not gonna be the most vulnerable in the room all the time or the first to begin to be vulnerable. But if push came to shove, in order to remain authentic, Leo energy in its highest exaltation is vulnerable. And because of that, you your community and your communalism and often that need for sensitivity but need for being vulnerable may come up right now, but it's really because most times what people forget about Leo energy is that they're craving affirmation, and they're also craving to be poured into too. So the leader can often feel lonely sometimes because the community will forget that the leader is a leader. And so that energy could also very much so come out right now, especially with Chiron being in Aries and it trining the this whole entire full moon. You basically need to know that that energy could come up and that could feel very, very normal during this time period. But it's also, again, highlighting that Aquarius, Leo axis. I'm slowly shutting down. And I'm very happy about that because it's been a long ass fucking day. And so, one of the things that also is going to come up, like we already talked about, personal pleasure versus group pleasure. A lot of times, and during these times, you could be very hyper focused on community, very hyper focused on things outside of you. But like I said, if you can, an easy way to embody this energy is Janelle Monáe's album. It's like the something of pleasure. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to y'all and tell y'all I'm gonna come back and put it in the comments. I'm going to bed after this, and I just don't care how else to break it to you. It's been a long day. But you really just need to tap into what brings you pleasure and what brings you happiness right now. So yeah, for me right now, I'm very much so craving because it's getting so close to spring, and I can feel it. It's like the earth is turning on. I'm ready to garden. I'm ready to be outside. I'm ready to be planting something. I'm ready to be smelling something. I'm ready to be interactive in that way with the earth and with the soil. And so that is what brings me pleasure. I'm thinking about that. And so I'm mitigating that right now by really leaning hard into my herbalism because that's the only other thing I got when it's cold outside is I learn about it and dream about it and read about it, stuff like that. But with that being said, I'm not saying don't hyper focus or don't focus on what um, community or collective pleasure is right now. But often remember that other people are often looking through the world through their own like rose colored glasses. And sometimes in order to find your passion, in order to get to that fifth house energy that's really being activated this full moon, you really gotta like focus on what is your passion, what is your pleasure. And if you've been interacting with it lately, or if you haven't, if you've been having a routine, having a ritual, having a lifestyle that doesn't make a lot of time for your pleasure. And hey, been there, done that. Been there, done that. So I just wanted to say that for whatever it was worth. But I just want you to really remember to lean into the sentience, to lean into the emotionality, what you're feeling in your body during this full moon. It's a full moon. You should always check in with your body during the full moon, right? This full moon governs the chest and the spine. It's a great time for that. It's a great time for that. Mullein, automatically. If you're here for the herbs, mullein. Just go ahead and go to your little store, get some. You can buy some locally. You ain't got to get none online. Cost you, if you go to the right store, particularly black or indigenous owned, it'll be like $5, 5, 6, especially if you're in Ohio. So please go get mullein, boil it right now, drink it. Again, Leo energy is fixed fire energy. So what that means from a embodiment that Chinese medicine or I Ching represents really well is hot dehydrated energy. And you lived through the middle of Leo season. You went outside. You probably wanted to faint. That energy is the embodiment of Leo energy overall, no matter if it's highlighted in a full moon and it's the middle of Aquarius. So drink a lot of water. Make sure you stay hydrated, but make sure you're checking in with your body and making sure you are checking in with your emotions because the sun is sentient. I know some people might argue, some people even in astrology, and I ain't gonna argue with them. I'm just gonna hit them with the facts one time, and one day you'll get it. The sun is plasma. The sun has plasma intelligence. Plasma intelligence can represent rationality, which is consciousness, right? But only when it's cool plasma. You should look into it. Cool plasma is a technology that's being studied right now, and it's being used to cure some cancers. But plasma, when it exists hot, It's not conscious. It doesn't practice rationality. It practices sentience. So that's also why you should check in with your emotions anytime anything is in Leo. Because even though it's masculine energy, it's actually all about your emotions because it's sentient. It senses things first. So that is very, 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 very important. So, and a lot of times, I'm gonna keep it real. The easiest way to feel your emotions is to drink water. Is to make sure you have enough fluid for your nervous system to have what the salts, which is what we feel in our body and end up being emotions, they have a hard time getting there if it's stuck in like your liver, your spleen. And let me not go too deep in that because I am online. But what I am saying to you is emotions emanate from a physical place. And it's a reason why Leo energy represents the heart chakra. And it represents that portion of your nervous system. It also represents your spine, right? And your chest. Right, not your necessary like your respiratory or your nervous system, but your chest. But since Jupiter's in Gemini, you should definitely be talking about that nervous system. Everybody been hacking and coughing. I've been like, oh, that was nasty. And I'm sorry, y'all, but that's how I feel about germs. So yeah. But all of that energy is very much so Leo energy right now. I think that's all, y'all. I don't think I gave y'all a herb. I gave y'all one. It's 12:14. So we're probably not gonna go past that. Yeah, we're probably not gonna go past that. I did talk about a crystal, carnelian. But if I'm gonna be real with y'all, masculine energy is represented by warm colors. So if you have colors that fit this color palette, you can work with that. Yeah. And if you're gonna be lazy like me, because I'm gonna go to sleep, I'm gonna put out some moon water. But I am gonna go to sleep. That's for damn sure. Cut on like a heart chakra. I would recommend a solar plexus sound bath to go to sleep to. If you got a crystal, it's got some yellow, some orange. If you got gold, because how you see me is how I'm gonna plop down. I am gonna take off this because I was outside with it, so I'm not gonna lay down with it. But how you see me, this is a cheat code. You can just embody the energy. You listen to this, you can embody the energy. That's how you can prepare. You don't have to have a extraneous routine, but I would recommend you make moon water. And if I'm going to point you in the direction of how the energy will be, if you naturally capture it, don't be spraying this water willy nilly, because this will be what we would call like transformation water. Like all this energy right now, like only first of all, you need to use whatever up. So if you make some of your own moon water, you can look up how to make moon water, right? And I'm saying this would be full moon water, and there's a difference. There's technically about 8 different type of waters you can make if you follow moon cycles, right? But if you're making full moon water, this is about releasing, letting go, clearing energy, transforming things. And one of the cheat codes is you can embody the energy with this water. But this ain't one that you're going to be spraying and it's going to be like cute energy. Like it really won't. This one you should only use when you're being hyper intentional and when you want to clear something out or when you want to clear energy. And you want to do it fast because you might not be able to bring your level of intent up that fast to do it. That'll be the energy of this water. So because where Uranus is, where so many planets is, and because there's so many oppositions going on, and I think the moon did something with Pluto once it actually made it into Virgo. And I was like, I am beat today. I am spent. But anyways, once it did that, and that essence will start to creep into this water some more, you're not really going to want to use this energy willy-nilly. So, and I would only be mindful when you use this. And if you use water and keep water, to use it, I won't say as soon as possible, but if you're not adding preservatives like I'm not, then you really shouldn't keep it longer than 6 months. You should really just get rid of it, clean it, start over. Yeah. So wanted to say that, and make sure you just drink Mullen tea right now. Like, even if it doesn't feel like it the most to you, it is still the middle of winter. Even if we're living through like a climate crisis, y'all, I ain't gonna lie to you. So, but maybe I should start lying, going lying, because I be too straightforward sometimes. But anyways, with that being said, drink Mullen. Um, Protect your nervous system, protect your chest, and just look up what Mullen means. And it'll be able to point you out from there. But overall, y'all, let me go make my moon water, and I'm going to get off of here because I'm tired. I'm thirsty. Yeah, that's it. So bye, y'all.